Okay, after customizing all of the clothes on our character, our last piece can be taking a look at these weapons. So, I left these off till the end because the sprite sheets for these weapons are a little bit different. So they're quite a bit larger, and they only have the, I guess, really the idle and the slash motions. So let's go ahead and start rigging those from beginning to end, and we'll add them to our existing scene. First off, we need to set our sprite sheets to multiple mode. The filter mode needs to be point filter because this is pixel art. I'm going to hit apply on that. And if we look at the SpriteMan 3D, since this is a copy of our demo stuff that we already did, let's look at the sizes of these sprites. So this is going to be 192 by 192. I'm going to go ahead and slice it. We're going to leave the pivot in the center. Okay, so it did it. And there it is. Hit apply. We're going to do the same here. And since this one is the one that has the most frames, we're going to use this one to base our templating off of. Because, for example, see, this one doesn't have a sprite here. It won't give us a complete map when we create a sprite sheet map. So we really want to go with like the common denominator that has all of the sprites that we're going to end up needing to template to other sprite sheets and other SpriteMan states. Okay, let's rename these. Okay, and for reference, I am going to go ahead and copy this existing. So I duplicate. I'm just going to cheat here a little bit. This one. Close that. I'm going to delete this one. Rename this one to weapon longsword, like so. So this one took care of our manual step. I didn't actually go in and rename all these things, but for the first one, your common denominator template, you kind of have to rename all these manually. But now that we did that, what we can do is we can go to Tools, SpriteMan 3D, SpriteMan Tools, save sprite sheet names. We're going to output that to this folder. So we did this. Weapon longsword, we're going to use the sprite sheet mapping to create a sprite sheet batch. Again, the sprite sheet batch is only available in the paid SpriteMan 3D. Grab this, move it into here. And we're going to call this weapons. We're going to grab this source template, and we're going to apply that to locking the inspector. We're going to apply that to both of these weapons. Process the batch. So see, now we see that Weapon mace doesn't have one of the frames. This is okay. We saw that earlier as well. It doesn't have this one. But now we see that both sprite sheets are named correctly, so that's nice. Next, we're going to create our sprite manager. SpriteMan 3D, Sprite Manager. I think it is the best to actually copy the state from an existing one because the animations are going to need all those frames, but we're going to empty out the frames that are basically not available. So let's see, we're going to use the body male because that's our common denominator for our actual, body and animation frames. We're going to target this sprite manager. We're going to load the state. Okay, that copied everything in here. So now, unfortunately, our okay, we need to set the parent, the root sprite manager on this. So what happened here is we loaded our weapon slot with the sprites for the body slot, but we're just going to go through and empty these out like so. Click on walk. I guess we can't. So we empty all these things out. The slashes, actually, we're going to need this, but it needs to be the sprites from this guy. So the attack, okay, this has an idle attack, idle east, idle north, idle south, slash, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, north, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, south, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to skip west because we're reflecting east to west. And since this is the only action that we can actually perform, right, we need to empty out the rest of these. We can't multi-select in this view, but we can just go through things quickly and delete these frames. All right, so all of the states that don't have any frames, they're still there, but they're emptied out. Slash has been added. This is the state that we mainly care about. Walk and idle. Idle is another state that is available. And we did this simply because these sprite sheets. I found these on the internet. I found these sprites, but they only had the actual slash animation and maybe like the idle poses. They didn't have any of the other, like a walking animation, for example. So we're kind of forced to live with some constraints here. All right, so now we see that our sword in the idle position is there, but it appears somewhere in midair. So let's figure out what's causing that and how to fix it. Well, I suppose this is the way to fix it, but got to be something off with the pivots in the scene. Let's go check this out. There we go. So this is the issue. The pivots in the broadsword haven't been zeroed out. And because of that, so we need to reslice. We're going to reslice the center like so. We hit apply. Of course, that generated ugly names in our sprites, but we have our weapons batch, and we have to reprocess our. Let's see if we need to reprocess the mace. The mace is centered. That was fine. Reprocess the sprite batch. Fix the names. We're good. And there we go. So now we centered the pivot. The sword appears in the right place. That's very nice. We need to create states from this guy now. So now that we've done this piece manually, we need to create the SpriteMan state for the sword. And we're going to save that into here, into our states folder. Like so, it created weapon, but this one needs to be weapon broadsword. So we can rename that. So, and we're going to go ahead and create our other batch as well, our SpriteMan state batch. That got created here and generated in the generated folder. We're going to put that in our states folder. Rename this to weapons. We're going to use the broadsword as the base template for it. And we're going to apply that to these weapons. Lock the inspector. Choose these sprites. So whenever we need to reprocess this batch of states, we can do that this way. I hit generate. It created the weapon mace is here. It created longsword. So my mistake. But yeah, let's go ahead and delete that one. I don't want to delete the broadsword one because that's the one we're using up here. So if I delete that, but we want to rename this to longsword. Like so. Next, we want to add that to our inventory and our scene because now these are two more pieces that can be custom added to our character. We lock the inspector, we select our stuff, we drag it into here. These aren't really closed, but they can go on the same array just for consistency, and maybe we rename this to items or whatever. But for now, we can just leave it alone. Okay, so now that we've added that to our inventory, we need to add the buttons in the UI. So we'll grab these four here at the bottom. We're going to duplicate those. In the scene, they look like this in the game view. This is going to be weapons, or weapon. Can only carry one weapon. Here we're going to rename this to none. That's good. And then we're going to do, was it longsword, button, mace, button, and their text needs to change, so this is going to be mace, longsword, none is good here. Then we need to change our our methods. So we need to add a new method now for the weapon slot in our script that we created for public void change weapon string name load SpriteMan from state body parts dot weapon name. And we haven't added a weapon yet to our character body parts. Let's do that now. So sprite manager weapon, like so. Okay, now it's not complaining, and we're good. Our method that we created here before is going to handle both the none state and, it's going to hide the weapon when it's set to none, and then it's going to actually apply a weapon when we choose one of our weapons. Here in our editor, let Unity compile. Okay. We go back to our character. So in our character body parts, we need to add the weapon to our list of references here. So we've got the weapon, that's good. This guy already has the reference to all the body parts and the weapons here. Now let's make sure that these guys are calling the correct method. So it's not going to be change feet. This is going to be change weapon. None is set to none. That's good. This one's going to be weapon longsword. That's the name of our weapon, and we're choosing that by state again. So remember, we're doing it by state, weapon longsword, and next is going to be weapon mace. Okay, we save this. Let's hit play, and let's see if we're doing the right things. So we can walk around. Of course, the walk doesn't have the animation, but we can do a slash. That looks amazing. So, very simple setup. Okay, now we hit our sword. We hit our weapon. There's no more weapon. Now we've added a mace. And we can perform an attack with the mace. Switch to a longsword. And there we are. So now we've customized the last piece here, which was our weapon. Thank you so much for joining me for the series. And all right, from here, happy coding. And I'll see you in the next installment when I have something else to demo.